like the benefactor's benefactor. Well, truthfully, we know you never been a factor.
I think it's only right and fun that we psychoanalyse the album cover, because Exhibit A, are you about 9 years old?
Oh man, I was a holy little hellion. That's what it meant. I was always that same little buck-toothed mischievous boy, who was a good kid raised by my grandparents with some good solid morals and foundations. But I just liked trouble.
Did you?
I just liked the excitement of it. So this album kind of tells the story of that kid growing up in a city as it grows up. And all these people, from my grandmother to my mother, my grandfather, all these people in my community poured a lot of good into me. So with my horns, there's always a halo above.
Now, the album has been called a kind of autobiography. Do you ever feel vulnerable putting this stuff out there, or is it cathartic? Are you so confident that you don't worry about that sort of stuff?
I mean, you're confident, so you do it, but that still means you cry when you perform Motherless, So I'm confident in that.
Like a hole in my heart, and I wanna call the Lord, but I don't know where to start.
Let's talk about Motherless, because it's a song where you can really feel that sense of raw grief.
Yeah.
Why was it so important to make that song for you?
I had never uttered the words, and I'd never faced the fear that her and my grandmother being gone is just an incredible sense of loss, and it left a hole in it, and in some ways it left me feeling hopeless.
My mama dead, my grandmama dead. I miss them so much, sometimes I just cry and hold my head.
And I needed to say it, so when the album was honestly done, and Dion, or super producer No ID, who's my friend and executive producer of the album, he says to me, like, what are you afraid of? Like, we got to go deeper. I'm like, I gave you Shed Tears, I gave you, Slumber, a song that talks about me and a girl and teenage love and abortion. Like, how much deeper I got to go? He says, what are you most afraid of? I said, I faced my greatest fear, my mother and grandmother dead. He said, well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Now, it's no secret that you have been heavily involved with politics. Mm-hmm. And what do you think Donald Trump did to the fabric of America?
What do I think Donald Trump? Well, nothing, just showed who we really are. The same thing Joe Biden does. He did the same thing, white men rule my country, and they push their own particular agendas. Sometimes those agendas line with my community, sometimes they don't. So I don't see them as radically different, nor the people who are on my dollar bills. Every president on my dollar bill owned a slave. So I can't castigate Trump anymore than I would castigate George Washington or Thomas Jefferson.
Some people talk about a Trump-Biden, going head-to-head for the next election. I mean, how do you feel about that, if that was a prospect?
I feel the Democrats should find a better candidate to run if they want to. I think that Donald Trump has captured the imagination of poor white and working class people in my country, and they make the majority. If those people are pivoting toward Trump, the Democrats had better find a candidate that appeals to those people, or lose those people. If you look at black men, essentially being annexed out financially, being annexed out from an educational perspective, eventually they're going to pivot away from the Democratic Party, and where will they go? So, if just like I have advised Democrats locally, statewide, and nationally, you better find a better candidate.
Now, during the Black Lives Matter movement, you gave some speeches which really captured the world's imagination after the murder of George Floyd.
I'm mad as hell. I woke up wanting to see the world burn down yesterday because I'm tired of seeing black men die. He casually put his knee on a human being's neck for 9 minutes as he died.
Do you think anything's changed since that murder? Have things changed in America?
The question becomes, as we pivot and look at America and her hypocrisy, what's the hypocrisy of Western culture, period? Racism isn't absent in Europe. It's just different here. It's nicer, it's kinder, but they still ask my wife for her hotel key when she's re-entering her hotel, and they did ask the 3 white women that walked in front of her.
Since you've been here?
Yeah, that's why I don't stay in certain hotels here anymore.
So you're still experiencing that racism all the time?
But I'm not terribly sensitive to it because it's just something that is, but I refuse to act like it isn't.
I'm really interested in your position on the police, because obviously your dad was a police officer,
My father was
right?
a police officer.
And then obviously,
my cousins are currently police officers.
Yeah, and you've famously kind of spoken about police brutality. You obviously, we're living in a time where people are talking about defunding the police. Yeah. Where do you sit in that?
Where do I sit?
Where do you sit with the police?
If they're behind me with the lights on, I sit still, my hands up. I think that society the society in Western society and where we've brought ourselves, I think that there is a need for police. And I think that our police forces have become very spoiled and rotten in the fact that they know they're the hand or the bludgeon of the state, so the state isn't going to do very much to correct them.
Now, we know what happens when young people aren't engaged. Like, we've got a huge, as you probably know, a huge youth violence problem here. You know,
Yeah.
we've got kids as young as 9 carrying weapons.
What do they say? An idle man or idle hands the devil's playground. You know, of course, kids are going to be prone to do things if they're blighted with, violence doesn't just happen if you're blighted with poverty, if you're blighted with hopelessness and not seeing a chance of opportunity, then you pivot to what's easiest. It's easiest to be angry. Kids' anger isn't acknowledged. Kids' depression isn't acknowledged. If we can acknowledge those things and if we can put kids in a space where they feel empowered earlier, I think that that politicians don't care about people who can't vote for them or give them money. And I think kids are often an afterthought of politicians in society. And I think that as adults, we should claim more responsibility at fostering the next generation of kids. I don't think as society we take children seriously enough. And I think that's something we should cure.
As one half of Run the Jewels, your fans used to love a mosh pit. I'm just wondering, you had house rules in terms of the mosh pit. I've heard. Can you just run me through the house rules? Because it's a serious health and safety business, right?
Yeah. You get to mosh and mash out. But if someone falls, if someone goes down, the pit must stop. You must pick that person up, get them secure, make sure they're okay, get them with security, get them out, and then you can start remoshing. Right. The other thing, is that you have to put your valuables and your goods up, because if you lose it, it's just lost. We don't want you to lose your stuff. And third and most important to me, because I got 5 sisters, is don't put your hands on a woman you didn't come with. You didn't come with her. Don't go touching her. Don't go groping her. Because if you do, I might be angry enough to jump off stage, or security may flip you, and then we're all going to laugh at you. There's no sense in that happening.
And Killer Mike, do you ever mosh?
I have moshed before, and that's how I know I'm probably not a mosher.
It's not your...
No, I'd rather slow dance with a girl in the corner doing a Keith Sweat song.
I hear you. I can see you doing that.
Yeah.
It's lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minnie. I
Lovely
appreciate
to
you,
talk to you.
Reggie. Absolutely.